Hello, you over 3,000 amazing legends and the 82.5% that have yet to subscribe yet. So, we're going to be doing another faction deep dive today, and we're going to be looking at the Ogre Mawtribes, the fat lads of the setting. Let's see what they've got to bring to 4th edition. So the Ogre Mawtribes, a faction that is really cool and should be getting a lot of love from Games Workshop, considering that they're not in the old world when they really should be, and a really cool faction. I remember playing them back in the day when they first turned up in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and it was really, really good. Just an army of big, fat, hungry lads. So cool. So, their battle traits. Let's have a little look at them. So they've got 3 battle traits. They've got any charge phase, so trampling charge, pretty cool. Pick a friendly Ogre or Rhinox unit, so that'll be the cavalry unit that charged this turn to use this ability, and then pick 1 visible enemy unit within 1 inch to be the target. On a roll of a 2+, inflict D3 mortal damage to the target equal to the roll. Standard roll, we all know it, it's pretty much there, but that's pretty cool. That means your Gluttons and your Iron Guts and your infantry are still going to be doing mortal damage on the charge. Nice. Then they've got passive Ravenous Brutes. Add 2 to run rolls for friendly Ogre units while you have not used the Feast of the Flesh ability after this battle. +2 to the run. Now, we're going to be looking at a way of getting some run and charges later on in the faction pack, in the deep dive. So this ability, Ravenous Brutes, will come into effect really, really well, and it's pretty awesome. So what is the Flesh of the Feast? Well, the Flesh of the Feast is a once per turn army, end of any turn. Pick a friendly Ogre unit that is in combat or that has used the fight ability this turn. Roll a d3, and for each target, on a 2+, you either heal X, the target equals an amount equal to the roll, or pick an enemy unit in combat with the target. You cannot pick the same enemy unit more than once. Inflict the amount of mortal damage on the enemy unit equal to that roll. Now, that's pretty good, but really, you're going to heal. It's not bad. You have to fight. So you pop it after every one of your units fight. So if you can get into turn 3 with all your army, they can all fight. But it's kind of good, but then you lose that +2 to your run rolls, and especially if you're going to be running and charging, which you're going to be, you may not want it. Late turn, maybe, to pop that ability. Maybe turn 4, once you've used it and you've had a couple of rounds of combat and got a bit of casualties, you'll be able to heal. But it doesn't say anything about bringing models back. It just heals models. So if you've already lost models, you're not going to be bringing those back. All in all, a pretty solid set of battle traits, especially Ravenous Brutes, because you're going to see why in the future of this video, so keep watching. Next up, we have the battle formations, the most important rule of all of the rules, because this will dictate how you will build your army. And so, we've got 4, as always. So we've got the Prophets of the Gulping God, Master Butchers. Add 1 to casting rolls for friendly Ogre Mawtribes Wizards. Cool, I like +1. As a Seraphon player, this is really kind of nice. Then Beast Handlers, Brutal Stock. Each time a friendly Beastclaw Raiders monster uses the Trample Charge ability, add 1 to the amount of mortal damage inflicted, if any. Obviously, if you're going to go down the Beastclaw Raiders route, lots of Stonehorns and Thunder Tusks, then this is obviously going to be the one for you. Heralds of the Winter, another one for the Beastclaw Raiders type stuff. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for shooting attacks that target friendly Ogre Mawtribes infantry, while they're wholly within 12 inches of any friendly Beastclaw Raiders heroes. That would be kind of nice if you're going to be bringing Beastclaw Raider heroes and lots of Gluttons and Iron Guts. Then you're going to get -1 against your shooting. Pretty decent, but so far I would probably stick to the Prophets of the Gulping God for that +1 casting. Then Black Powder Fanatics, if you want to go down the route of Lead Belchers and Iron Blasters, they get shoot into combat while they are within combat range of a friendly Ogre Mawtribes hero. So obviously that relies you on having a hero next to these units, and then you're going to be able to shoot in combat. Not bad, but the shooting in this army is not as good as it used to be. For me personally, I would use Prophets of the Gulping God, because +1 to cast on your wizards, is pretty important, especially with some of the spells that they have. And speaking of spells, let's have a look at them. Hero traits. So we've got a couple of hero traits and obviously artifacts that you can give on your non-unique heroes, which means name characters. I don't actually think the Ogre Mawtribes have any name characters outside of Kragnos, so this doesn't really make much of a difference. So you've got passive, Great Gutlord, ignore negative modifiers to this unit's control score and to hit rolls and wound rolls for this unit's attacks. That is so good. Especially with some of the things like minus the 1 wound and things, that is really, really good. And it also, as well, it doesn't stop you from somebody using a -1 to hit ability, like say Shining Company in the Lumineth Realm Lords, where you having to pay for that all-out attack to get rid of that. This just wasn't. It is only on the hero though, which is a shame. It would be kind of cool if it had a little Nora ability around it. Passive. Booming Roar. Subtract 5 from the control score of any enemy infantry units while they are within combat range of this monster. It's not too bad. Touched by the Winter. If this unit is not a priest, it has Priest 1. If this unit is already a priest, you can reroll chanting rolls for 1 instead. If this unit is a wizard, it cannot use spell abilities and the prayer abilities in the same phase. Yeah, okay, so you can turn your Tyrant into a priest if you want it. And if you already are a priest, you get +1 to, you get to reroll chanting rolls of 1, which is pretty solid. Personally, I quite like the Great Gutlord, because obviously it ignores that -1 to hit and minus wound and control score, which is super strong. Artifacts. So we've got artifacts, we've got gruesome trophies. So add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks that target heroes and monsters made by friendly Ogre Mawtribe units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Solid. Once per battle, any combat phase, the Fang of Gyr, pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Ward rolls cannot be made for the target for the rest of the turn. No rolls, no nothing. You just get into combat with it and you just turn off that ward save. That is really, really good. Once per battle, any shooting phase, pick an enemy unit in combat with this to be target, roll a dice, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Then heal X to this unit, where X is the amount of the roll. That's not bad. For me, I quite like gruesome trophies because I like the +1 to hit, especially if you're coming up against monsters and heroes, and it's a nice aura ability. The once per battle in any combat phase of turning off ward saves, that would be really good, especially if you've got like a really kick-ass, brutal-looking Tyrant model that could potentially take someone down, but, you know, it's really going to depend on if you've got a hero with the combat output. If not, then that's completely pointless. But for me, gruesome trophies is probably the one I would go for. Okay, the spell lore. Lore of more magic. Pretty good, and as you can have an army-wide +1 to cast as well, which is pretty decent, which means for things like this one, Troggoth Guts, you're going to be able to cast this on a 4+. So pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes Wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible friendly Ogre Mawtribes unit within 12 inches of them. 12 inches, not wholly within 12 inches, so that's really good. That has not been picked to be the target of this ability this turn. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. This is an ultimate spell, which is quite nice. And then you can heal D3 the target and add 3 to the unit's control score for the rest of the turn. +3 target, +3 control score, and it heals D3, which is pretty nice. And it's an ultimate ability, so you can splatter that across your front line from all of the wizards you're going to take. So pretty solid. Next, you've got Greasy Deluge. So pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes Wizard to cast this spell. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's attacks until the start of your next turn. Lovely. Beautiful. And you're going to be able to cast that on a 5+ potentially, which is really good. Then there's the Bloodfeast. Pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes Wizard to cast this spell, and pick a visible Ogre Mawtribes infantry unit, wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of the target's melee weapons until the start of your next turn. Yeah, +1 attack. Oh, hell yeah. That would be really, really nice. This one is wholly within 12 inches, so you're going to need to make sure that you are wholly within. But add 1 to the attack characteristics of the target's melee weapons That's really quite nice as well. And there are other ways of getting +1 attacks as well, so this will all stack. So quite nice. Yeah, some pretty solid spells there, to be fair. Now for the prayer laws, Everwinter prayers. Obviously, these come from the heroes, some of the heroes that are on the big beasties, like the Tuskars, the big things, Stonehorns as well. Those guys. So obviously, you can make a Tyrant or one of your heroes Art Priest as well and get access to this if you want, but mainly you'll find that your priests are going to be mounted on big monsters. So Call of the Blizzard is chanted on a 4. Pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes Priest to chant. Pick a friendly terrain feature 18 inches from them to be the target. Make a chanting roll of a d6. Place a Blizzard token next to the target. The terrain feature that have a Blizzard token gain the Obscuring Terrain ability. In addition, if the chanting roll was a 10+ until... If the chanting roll was a 10+ until the start of your next turn, friendly Beasts of Claw Raiders units have a 5+ while they are within 3 inches of any terrain feature with a Blizzard token. Okay, that's pretty cool. So, Pulverizing Hailstorm, pick a friendly Ogre Tyrant Priest, pick a point on the battlefield within 12 inches of them, then pick a visible enemy unit within 3 inches of that point, and then make a chanting roll. Roll a d3 for each target on a 2+, inflict equal amounts of mortal damage target to the roll. If the chanting roll was a 10+, double the amount of mortal damage inflicted. That's pretty good, but, you know, it's only a 12-inch range. And then Kneeling Gale, pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes Priest to chant the prayer, pick a visible Ogre Mawtribes monster and Maw Fang Pack wholly within 12 inches to be the target. For the rest of the turn, the target can use run abilities and still use charge abilities later in the turn. In addition, if the chanting roll was an 8+, you can re-roll run and charge rolls for the same turn. So this is really strong. That is a really strong prayer. Especially if you're going for the sort of monster cavalry build for the army. Having a priest with that allowing you to run and charge. Now, it is... You have to pick a visible friendly unit, so you're only going to do it to 1 unit, which is a shame. And it's not unlimited, so you can't do it to multiple units, which is a shame. And you're going to see why that this build is good, and you're going to be able to play a lot around with that and do something. But the run and charge without prayers is a lot stronger because it's already built in, and there's no rules or anything like that. Okay, first up we have Kragnos, the End of Empires. And he is going to be coming in at 680 points. A lot of points for the End of Empires. Beautiful model. A model that I don't own and have never painted, but really would like to, but firmly believe he should have been in a Beast of Chaos army. So, he has a 5-up ward, he's a monster, hero, unique war master, all of that good stuff. He has a 4-up save, he moves 10, he has a health of 18 and a control of 15. That's right, a control of 15. Holy crap. Right, so... thought there was going to be something else there, but no, I literally read that right. Control of 15. Holy moly. If you get him on an objective, it's pretty much his. Like, it's his objective, not yours. So he has a couple of melee weapons. He has the Dread Lance, which does downgrade from 6 attacks to 4 attacks if you take 10 or more damage. And it hits on 3s, it wounds on 2s, it has -3 rend and 4 damage per hit. Ouch. That is pumping. Then he has his Tusk Breaker, which is 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, -2 rend, d3 damage, crits 2 hits, nice. And then he has his Hooves of Rack and Ruin, 6 attacks, 3s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage. So, all in all, he has a lot of damage potential. He's pumping. He's about 15 attacks, all in all, and he's going to be doing a lot of damage, potentially. Obviously, we've gone through his passive ability. Now, he has also this reaction. Opponent declares a spell ability. So, if this unit was picked to be the target of a spell, roll a dice. On a 3+, ignore the effect of this spell on this unit. This unit can use this ability more than once per phase, but only once per spell ability. So, what I take from that ability is you can do it multiple times, but you can only do it once roll per that spell type. So if you can keep getting hit by the different spells, then you're fine. So it probably should be able to work against manifestations because they're spells, I believe. Passive, Avatar of Destruction. If this unit would be automatically destroyed. It is not automatically destroyed. Instead, allocate 6 damage points to it. Ward saves cannot be made. So basically, no Hand of Dusting Kragnos. Makes sense. And no Slayer of Kings to Kragnos as well. So Archeon, ha 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 ha. Once per turn army, any charge phase, Rampaging Destruction. If this unit charged this phase, pick one of the following effects. This is nuts. So, roll a dice for each enemy unit with 1 inch of the unit, and on a 2+, inflict a mortal damage equal to that roll. That's okay. But the big thing is, if you charge into a monster, pick an enemy monster in combat with this unit and roll 2d6. On a 7, this ability has no effect. Otherwise, inflict an amount of mortal damage on that unit equal to the result on the dice used on a 2d6 roll multiplied together. For example, a 2d6 roll of 2 would be 6, would inflict 12 mortal damage. So if you roll a 7, so a 5 and a 2, all right, it has no effect. Okay, so on a 7, this ability has no effect. Now, I've seen people argue about this, that basically said that if you roll anything other than a 7, it has an effect, but if you roll a 7, it doesn't have an effect. I'm going to go on the proviso that if you roll a 7 or less, it has no effect. This ability has no effect. All right? Otherwise, inflict an amount of mortal damage. Because basically what I'm thinking is, it's like if you roll a 1 and a 5 or a 1 and a 6, you can't, your times in the 1 by 6, which is 6, right? That's how I'm working this out. So if you roll a 2 and a 2 is 4, 2, yeah, you get me? So 2 and a 6 is basically 12. So you want to roll pretty much high. You want to be rolling higher than a 7. Basically, what you want to roll is 2 6s. That's what you want to roll. 2 6s is 6 times 6. That's 36 mortal wounds. That's what you want. So, you know, I've seen people argue with this, but I think it's because they're not really taking into account that you actually are multiplying the lowest dice by the highest dice. So, solid and potential, but very whiffy if you don't get it right. Then he has the End of Empires. Add 1 to the number of dice rolls when making rolls for friendly destruction units, while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit to a maximum 3. So, your gluttons and your running and charging iron guts, potentially having 3d6 for the charge rolls. Absolutely mental. Next up is the Ogre Tyrant. He comes in at 180 points. He's an infantry hero. He has a 4-up save, movement of 6, health of 8, control of 5. He has a couple of weapons. He has his bracelet pistols. Range 10, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, can shoot in combat. And then he has his 2 melee weapons, Thunder Mace and the Beast Skewer Glaive. 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 3 damage, crit mortals. And 2 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-monster. Then he has a couple of abilities. In your hero phase, Belly of the First Degree. Pick another friendly Ogre Mawtribes unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target, and add 3 to the target's control score till the start of your next turn. Nice. Passive, add 1 to the D3 roll made when this unit uses the trample ability. Cool. So he kind of makes his own charge good. I'd like him. I think there's potential play with the Tyrant, but I think the Butchers and the Slaughtermaster kind of sort of like overshadow him a lot. But it's a beautiful model, and you should definitely have one in your collection. At least have one in your collection. So, next up is a Slaughtermaster, and a Slaughtermaster comes in at 130 points. An absolute steal. He's a Wizard 1. He has a 5-up save, 6 move, 8 health, 5 control, and then he has Stumped Blades, 2d6 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 1 damage, not to be sniffed at if that spikes. And then he has Nobblers, so 3s, 3 attacks, 5s and 5s, no rend, 1 damage, companion. Then he has a couple of abilities, and this is kind of what you're bringing him for. So passive, fill the pot. Each time an enemy unit is destroyed by a combat attack made by a friendly Ogre Mawtribes unit, hold you within 18 inches of this unit, give this unit a Grizzly Remains point to a maximum of 3. Then in your hero phase, you can use said Grizzly Gains points with your Great Cauldron. You can spend one or more of this unit's Grizzly Remain points. For each point spent, pick a friendly Gutbuster unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target, then pick one of the following. So that target can have a 5-up ward for the rest of the turn. Nice. Or you can add one to the attack characteristics of melee weapons for the rest of this turn, which is also really nice. So that's kind of cool, and you're going to be able to do it. And it's within 12. You're going to have him pretty forward with your things, to be fair. And it's quite nice. It is wholly within, but you're potentially going to be able to do it. I quite like them, and I would definitely have one as my general with a few other artifacts and hero traits, just to buff him up a bit. Next up, we have the Butcher, the star of the heroes, I think. And the Butcher comes in at a whopping 130 points. You're paying 10 more points for a Butcher rather than a Slaughter Priest. He's an infantry hero wizard 1, 5-up save, 6 move, 7 health, 5 control. Butcher's tools, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 3 damage per hit. Nice. Potential 9 damage out of this model, but that's not why you bring him. This is why you bring this model. He has a passive ability called Savage Hunger. While they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit, friendly Gutbuster units can use charge abilities even if they use run abilities this turn. So you're already going to get a passive +2 to your run rolls, which is really good. And now you're going to be able to run and charge while you're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That is amazing. And he is a Gutbuster, so he will also benefit from this as well. That is amazing. I would personally have 2 of these in my army surrounded by Gluttons and basically just throw big fat bodies at people and absolutely smash face. I definitely think he is the star of the faction pack, to be fair. Next up, we have Blood Pelt Hunter, which is basically a hunter. Blood Pelt Hunter is 170 points. Hero, infantry, 5 save, move 6, health of 8, control of 5. Has a Skull Shatter Crossbow, which is an 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, d3 damage. And an Impaling Spear, 12-inch range, 1 attack, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, d6 damage, and anti-monster, +1 rend. Then he has his meat hooks and his axes and stuff, where he has 5 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-monster, +1. And then he has a couple of other passive abilities. He has a Beast Breaker. If the target is a monster, the damage characteristic of this unit's Skull Shatter Crossbow is a 3, and the damage characteristic of its Impaling Spear is a 6. Wow. So basically, if you know you're going to be coming up against a lot of monsters, right? If your local meta is filled with monsters, you're going to throw in one of these guys to go monster hunting. Pretty much. Then once per turn, army, enemy movement phase. If this unit is more than 9 inches from all enemy units, it can make a normal move ability as if it were your normal phase. Free move in your opponent's movement phase. Nice. Not bad. I quite like it, especially if you're coming up against a lot of monsters. Okay, so the Frostlord on a Stonehorn comes in at Frosthorn on a Stonehorn, 360 points. 4-up save, movement of 10, health of 15, control of 10. Has a lot of stuff. So it has a Frost Spear, 4 attacks, 4s and 2s, -2 rend, 2 damage, +1 damage on the charge. Nice. It has Stonehorn's Rock Hard Horns, 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, -2 rend, 3 damage. That also gets +1 damage on the charge, 4 damage on the charge. And it's a companion attack as well. So all that attack will improve that so it's hitting on 3s and wounding on 2s. And then it's got the Hooves, which is d6 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, d3 damage. So obviously the Stonehorn's horns drop from 6 attacks to 4 attacks if you hurt it. And then once per battle, Earth Shattering Charge. If this unit charges this phase, pick an enemy unit within 1, roll a d3 mortal damage on the target, then roll 2d6. This unit can then move up to the value of the roll. During that move, it can pass through models in the target unit and it must end the move in combat. So you just basically hit a unit, do some damage, and it just plows straight on through into another unit behind it. So good. That is how power through should work for 1 CP. massive passive Frost Spear. If any damage points are allocated to an enemy hero or monster made by these units, Frost Spear, subtract 1 from the attack characteristics of enemy unit weapons until the end of till the start of your next turn. Now, start your next turn, which means that if you do get doubled, then obviously that's still going to be in play. Stone Skeleton, ignore the first point of damage that would be allocated to this unit each phase. That's pretty cool, but it's really hard to keep a track of that without tokens. Next up, we have a Frost Lord on a Thunder Tusk. And a Frost Lord on a Thunder Tusk comes in at 300 points for 1. So, it has a 4-up save, movement of 10, health of 15, control of 10. It has an Ice Blast, which is a range of 12, 1 attack, 4 hits, 4 to hit, 2 to wound, 1 rend, d3 plus 2 damage. Then it has its weapons, which is the Frost Spear and the Thunder Tusk, Colossal Tusks, which is basically the same as what the other one was, which is kind of cool. Now, the battle damage, obviously, if it's battle damage, its Thunder Tusk drops from 3 attacks down to 2, and it has a once per movement sweeping tusk. So pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3+. Roll a dice for each model in the unit, and for every 5+, inflict a mortal damage. Basically, it does this with its tusks in the movement phase. So you're doing damage in the movement phase, which is quite nice. Then once per battle, army, your charge phase, pick any number of friendly Beastclaw Raiders units wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Wholly within, not sadly within 12, but that's okay. Each target can add 1 to the D3 roll made if that unit uses the trample ability. So basically, that's your impact hits when you charge. So you get +1, which is not bad. Again, you know, he's okay. He's not a priest, which is fine, but he's a bit of a beat stick. Personally, I would probably put a Frostlord on a Stonehorn rather than a Thunder Tusk. Next, we have the Hus Guard on a Stonehorn, and this is your priest. It comes in at 300 points. It's a priest 1, 4-up save, movement of 10, health of 14, control of 10. Then it has a number of ranged weapons. So this unit is armed with the punching kick, Stonehorn, and it can have one of the following options. You can either have a chain strap, a harpoon launcher, or a blood vulture. Chain trap is 12 inches, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 3 damage, anti-monster. And then the harpoon launcher is 18-inch range, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, d3 damage. Or the blood vulture, which is 24-inch range, 1 attack, 2s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. Yeah. Okay. So then it has punches and kicks, which is 3s, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, no rend, 1 damage. Then obviously the tusks, which is +1 on the charge, 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 3 damage. And then the hooves, d6 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, d3 damage. Pretty much same as the others. Now, he does have a couple of abilities, so he has a passive, ignore obviously the first point of damage in that phase. And then once per turn, any combat phase, pick each friendly and enemy monster unit within this combat's range, roll a dice on a 3+. If the target is a friendly Mawtribe unit, its companion weapons have a crit 2 hits. Nice. If the target is an enemy unit, -1 hit with companion weapons. That's okay. I quite like the fact that you can give those other Stonehorns and stuff crit 2 hits as well, especially when it's got 6 attacks on the charge, which is kind of nice. Next up, we have the Hus Guard on a Thunder Tusk. Again, priest 1. Has a 4-up save, movement of 10, 14 health, control of 10. Again, it has exactly the same weapons as the others, but it does now have an Ice Blast, as well as one of the 3 options, which are basically the same as the Stonehorn. So the Ice Blast is 1 attack, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, d3 plus 2 damage, and it's a companion attack. That's it. So again, it has a passive ability with its Thunder Tusk do drop, which is basically, again, the same. And then it has Freezing Aura. So pick an enemy infantry unit in combat with this unit to be the target, roll a dice, add 1 to the save. If the target had add 1 to the roll if the target had strike last as a result of this ability in the previous turn. On a 4+, the target has strike last for the rest of the turn. So basically, you can strike last it, not kill it, and then it's +1 to the roll, and then you can do it again the following turn, which is kind of nice. I like that. It's quite a nice ability that rolls over through each phase. Next, we got the Icebrow Hunter, which comes in at 130 points per model. 5 up save, movement 6, health of 7, control of 5, and he has a great throwing spear, range of 10, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, anti-monster. Then he has his crossbow, range of 12, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, no rend, D3 damage, anti-monster +1 rend. Then he has his culling club, which is 4 attacks, 4s and 2s, no rend, 2 damage, anti-monster. As you can see, he's an anti-monster monster. So monsters are masters of ambush. This unit can be set up with 2 frost sabers. So you know this guy is he's the Finecast guy, the original OG hunter model. For those units who have not been deployed, set up this in reserve and they outflank the prey. And then obviously it can outflank, so set up this unit wholly within 9 inches of the battlefield and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Then set up each frost saber that was set up outflanking with the prey, and they're wholly within 12 inches of it and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So the sabers can kind of deploy away from him, which is kind of nice. So you can actually deploy in and put yourself out a nice screen on a flank, which is kind of cool. So you can definitely sort of deny sort of table territory with this unit. Personally, if I was going to do something like that, I would just use Gorges, because they're just far better. Next up, we have the Firebelly, the coolest wizard model ever. There's no argument. This model is so cool. I really wish that this would be the aesthetics that they take the Age of Sigmar ogres in when they start updating them. And he comes in at... Where is he? The Firebelly? 140 points for one model. 5 up save, movement of 6, health of 7, control of 5. He has fire breath, 8-inch range, 6 attacks, 2s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage, can shoot in combat. And then he has a basalt hammer, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, D3 damage. And then basically add 1 to the damage characteristics of this unit's fire breath unit if it targets infantry. He is a wizard one as well. So yeah, I love this model. I think it's so cool. It's, yeah, I think the Maori aesthetic that they're kind of giving, the Maori Mongol aesthetic that they're kind of giving the ogres, I really wish they would double down on, especially this Maori type look that they've got going on in this model. This model is just fantastic. I remember when it first came out and it was just like, this is so damn good. But yeah, I would get one just purely for painting, because yeah, it's such a beautiful model. Absolutely boss. So much character in this. I would love them to update the entire range to be more this aesthetic, and I think that would be really cool. Really cool. Face tats everywhere. Next up, we have the Ogre Gluttons, and this is probably going to be the unit that forms the basis of your army, and they come in at a lovely 220 points for 6 models. So that is 6 4-wound big fat guys. So obviously they've got a champion, musician, standard bearer, and all that good stuff. They have a 5 up save, which isn't amazing, but it's not bad. They have a 6 up move. They have a 4 health, control of 2, which is pretty good. And then they have gluttons weapons. So they've got 4 attacks, 3 4s followed by 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage. That's pretty solid. -1 rend and 2 damage on a basic troop is pretty solid. Then they've got passive. So if you use the Feast of the Flesh ability this battle, which is the once per battle end of turn ability, battle trait, add 1 to the control score of this unit for each model in this unit. So you can potentially push it up to control of 3 per model, which is okay. Personally, I would probably run at least 2 units of reinforced gluttons and probably 2 small units of 6. That gives you a lot of bodies to churn through, and that is a lot of wounds to get through, and they're going to hit like an absolute sledgehammer as well. And bear in mind as well, you're going to be getting that running charge as well. I really like them. They're classic models, so easy to build and such easy to paint. In fact, keep an eye on the channel. There will be a painting video for a glutton very soon. Next up, we have the Iron Guts. So if you like gluttons, then why not gluttons in extra armor? Although they don't get the extra save. But they do a lot more damage though. These are your more elite ogres. They have a they basically come in units of 4 for 240 points. So you are paying 20 points more for 2 less models, but they'll do the damage and make up for that. So again, they've got the champion musician and standard bearer, 5 up save, movement of 6, health of 4, control of 2, and then they've got iron gut weapons, 3 attacks each. They hit on 4s, which you can change to a 3. Wound on a 2, rend 2, ouch, and 3 damage a hit. That is monstrous. They kind of remind me quite a lot of Croxigors, but with slightly less wounds. They're pretty decent. So they have Protect the Tyrant. So while this unit is within combat range of any friendly tyrants, both this unit and those of the tyrant have a 6-up ward, which is kind of nice. If you want to run a tyrant, I would probably run definitely a reinforced unit of these. So you've got 8 of them surrounded by that tyrant, and then have the tyrant and these boys just bulldozering right into that unit. But one thing that I do like about these guys is this once per battle any combat phase ability. So this unit can fight twice, and the second time it fights, it would strike last, which is kind of cool. It's kind of almost a bit like Chosen or Varangard with the double fighting, which is good. But let's be completely honest, if 4 of these guys get in, hitting you, you know, with at least, 12 attacks, rend 2, damage 3, most infantry units, most screen units are not going to be able to stand up to that, and they're going to disappear. They're really quite nice. The one thing that is a shame that is they've got a 5-up save. I would have thought because they're iron guts, they have more armor and stuff on them. They maybe should have had a 4-up save. Next up, we've got the Man-Eaters. The Man-Eaters. They're really cool. I like Man-Eaters. They're like really funny models. So you can get one like a ninja. There's like a big female ogre chick with a big rolling pin on her shoulder. There's this guy, which is clearly an executioner. And there's even a pirate one, which is kind of cool. They come in, Man-Eaters come in a unit of 3 for 170 points. Now, you do have to buy them individually, but, you know, they're very characterful models. So they're infantry. They've got a 5-up save, they've got a movement of 6, they've got a health of 4, and they've got a control of 2. They've got a brace of pistols and throwing weapons, so they've got 1 attack, 3s and 3s, -1 rend at D3 damage, can shoot in combat. And then they've got the Man-Eater weapons, 4 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend at 2 damage. So pretty much like your Gluttons, but they've got that extra attack. Then they've got this, which is a once per turn army reaction. This unit was picked to be the target of a non-core ability. On a roll of 4+, that ability has no effect on this unit. What exactly does that mean? Right, basically, if you try to do anything to this unit outside of a shoot attack or a fight ability, so you put an endless spell next to them, and that endless spell, manifestation, has something like, say, Shackles could do mortal damage in the hero phase if the Man-Eaters are within 3 inches of them. If you try to do that, they can roll a 4, they can do a 4-up, and they can just stop that from happening, because that's not a core ability. So core abilities are things like spells, fights, and shooting abilities. This is incredibly strong, because there's a lot of things that happen outside of the core abilities that are like this. So if you try to do a rampage, rampages aren't core abilities, so you can just go, no, 4+, get screwed, not happening. Really funny, and you can really have a characterful type of unit. You can have a couple of models that are pirates. You can have the big chick with the rolling pin. You can have your ninja as well, and they're really fun. A nice little painting project as well. Yeah, they're really cool. It's just, I wish they kind of did a little bit more. But yeah, kind of nice. They should be mercenaries for all destruction factions. Anyone should be able to take Ogre Man-Eaters, because that's what they are. They are basically mercenaries. Next up, we have the Gorger Maw Pack, the new plastic kit that come out with the Warcry Warband, which is kind of cool. And the Gorger Maw Pack is 5 models for 260 points. Now, I like these Landsharks. They're pretty cool. So they've got, obviously, a champion and a musician. Interesting. They've got a 6-up save, they move 6, they control a health of 5 and a control of 2. They've got clubs, jaws, and claws. 5 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend at 2 damage, anti-infantry. I like these. The reason why I like these is because they give your army a deep striking unit. That is right. You can pick this unit if it hasn't been deployed yet, and it can be set up in reserve on the fringes it has been deployed. And then in your movement phase, you can bring them on and set them up on the battlefield wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield table edge and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Now, if you do this right, you can essentially bring 2 of these units and set them up so you can get them on either flank. Yes, I know you aren't going to be able to do the battle tactic because they're setting up that turn, but they are there then on the flanks to be able to do it the turn after, which is kind of thinking ahead, which is kind of good. But they're going to pack a punch. 5 attacks each with a unit of 5. Yeah, Landsharks are cool. And it's kind of nice that they're now in a unit, because they used to come in single models and used to fly around and jump out of bushes and stuff and just eat people. Yeah, but they are pretty cool. They're feral ogres. Next up, we have the humble Lead Belcher. The Lead Belcher is a classic unit, 150 points for 4. Not as good as they used to be. 5 up save, movement of 6, health of 4, control of 2, and then they've got the Lead Belcher guns, because, you know, ogres don't just carry normal guns. They basically strap a cannon to their arm and walk around firing a cannon as though they're firing a shotgun. That's just so good. I think design aesthetics here, they should have maybe had 2 modes of fire. If they stood still, they should be able to do like a grape shot, and if they and then another one where they could do this one. So that would have been kind of cool, but hey, you know, narrative. So the Lead Belcher gun is a range of 15, a D3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage. Like I said, not that great considering that it is a cannon. And then they can basically hit you with it, which is 2 attacks, 4s and 2s, no rend, 2 damage. So in your shooting phase, if this unit did not make a user move ability and was not set up this turn, add 1 to the hit rolls for this unit's shooting attacks for the rest of the turn. Cool, hitting on 3s, nice. And then they've got, if this unit has 2 powder nobblers, which you get in the kit, and they're like tokens, each time this unit uses a shoot ability, for each of this unit's powder nobblers that are on the battlefield, you can reroll a 1 random characteristic for this unit's attack characteristic. If a random characteristic is rerolled in this manner, i.e. remove 1 of this unit's gunpowders, is a 1, remove the 1 for this unit's powder nobbler. So basically, if you want to roll a hit, if you want to roll a wound on a 4+, you can, and you can re-roll that. And if you roll a 1, you basically kill a nobbler. Basically, you use a nobbler. It's fine, it's okay, but the fact that it's only damage 1 and it's a cannonball that you're firing is, for me, is what's really lackluster about them. Okay, next up is the Iron Blaster. Having cannons strapped to your arm isn't mad enough. Then what we can do is we can strap a giant cannon to a back of a Rhinox. And this is 240 points for 1. It's a war machine, and it's got a save of 4, a movement of 9, a health of 9, and a control of 2. And it's got the Iron Blast Cannon Big Shot and then a Hail Shot. So basically, this unit has a passive ability, Lethal Load. Each time this unit uses a shoot ability, pick either the Big Shot or the Hail Shot weapon characteristic for all of its attacks made by the Iron Blaster Cannon. So if you use the Big Shot, it has a range of 18, 2 attacks, 4s and 2s, -2, rend D3 plus 3, and if you use the Hail Shot, it's 12-inch range, 8 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. And then you can use clobber things to death with your 2 attacks, and then the Rhinox with its 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, 4s and 2s, no rend, 1 rend, 2 damage, D3 damage, companion attack. They're okay, but let's be completely fair. Like, even then, it's still not great. It's only 2 attacks, and it's D3 plus 3, or it's 8 attacks, and it's only rend. It's only, like, damage 2. It's a little bit sad, considering the size of the damn thing. Yeah, but I personally think that this probably should have something like anti-monster, definitely on the Big Shot, and the grape and the Hail Shot should definitely have minus anti-infantry on it as well. But that's just my 2 cents. Next up, we have the Nobbler Scrap Launcher, another war machine, but this time it's a Nobbler one, and it's 180 points. So this thing has all of the anti-stuff. So it's a 4-up save, movement of 9, health of 9, and control of 2. It has piles of old scrap, 24-inch range, better than the Ogre one. 3d6 attacks, amazing. 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Anti-infantry +1, and crits auto-wounding. That's great. It's got 2 abilities on there. And then obviously you've got your melee weapons, which are 7 attacks from the Scrappers, 5 and 5, -1 rend. Sorry, no rend, 1 damage. And then the Rhinox, 2 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, D3. So it has in your shooting phase, if this unit is within combat range of a friendly Nobbler unit, this unit's shooting attack does crits on 5s rather than 6s. Nobblers for the win. Then your shooting phase, reign of the scrap, pick an enemy unit that had any models slain this turn by this unit shooting attack to be the target. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for that unit for the rest of the turn. So -1 to hit as well. I think this is pretty cool. 180 points, really funny, and it's got like 3d6 attacks, so funny, and a 24-inch range. It's not really going to do much pumping, but you know, you might potentially shred a unit and at least give it -1 to let those gluttons charge in and wreck them. Next up, we've got the Nobblers, and I believe these guys are going to come in at a whopping 120 points for 20. That's backbreakingly bad. Not really. That's actually really good. 120 points for 20 Nobblers. Perfect screen. So, you've got a champion. Nice. So, you've got a 6-up save. Cool. You move 5. Cool. You've got 1 health. It's a Nobblet. Should be 0.5. And they've got a control of 1. They couldn't control shit. So, they can throw shit at you. Sharp stuff at 8-inch range. 1 attack each. 4s and 5s. No rend, 1 damage. That's okay. And then they've got their motley assortment of weapons. So basically, they've got their hammers, their daggers, their forks, their spoons, their sticks, their stones. Anything they can get their hands on. 1 attack each, 5s and 5s, -1 rend, 1 damage. You're not sending these into combat to do some killing. What you are doing is want them as a screen unit for this. Nasty traps and tricks. So pick an enemy unit within 6 inches of this unit that has used the move ability this turn to be the target. You cannot pick the same unit to be the target of this ability more than once per turn. So one unit of Nobblers is fine. Roll a d3 and on a 2+, inflict an equal amount of damage on the target equal to the roll. So you can do a little bit of mortal wounds. Now, they're a screen. They're going to die. Who cares? But yeah. They're 420 points for a load of Nobblers. Not bad. Like, you know, classic unit. Next up, we got the Stonehorn Beast Riders. So this is your non-hero version of your Stonehorns. Basically, they come in at 290 points. They're just a monster. They've got 4-up save, a movement of 10, health of 14, control of 10. They're basically the exact same. You basically get the option of having a chain trap or a blood vulture. You get the harpoon launcher anyway, so you choose one or the other. So you've kind of, you gain an extra guy on the model and you gain an extra weapon essentially. Again, the punches and kicks and everything else is pretty much the same as the other versions. And you basically have the same abilities apart from the Stonehorn Avalanche. So this is a once per turn army any combat phase. If this unit charges this turn, roll a dice on a 3+. When this unit makes a piling move in this phase, it can add d6 to the distance, which is kind of cool and kind of nice. But, you know, if you're going to be going like the Beastclaw Raiders army and you're going to be doing a lot of monsters, you're probably going to have a couple of these guys supported by a couple of the heroes on these. Classic sort of 2nd, 3rd edition army with the Beastclaw Raiders, which is kind of cool, you know. And it's also used to be one of the cheapest armies to get into Age of Sigmar, because I think 3 of the old starter sets come with 1 of these, and then 2, and then 4 of the Rhinox cavalry. So if you bought 3 of these boxes, you basically had everything you needed for like a 2k list. It was like super cheap, and like those boxes were like 50 quid. Sadly, they've got rid of that, you know. So you're gonna have to now buy these actually separately, but still, it could still be a relatively cheaper army to collect than others. Next, we got the Thunder Tusk Beast Raider. So again, it's 240 points for this one model. It's pretty much the same. And again, you've got the Ice Blast, you've got the Harpoon Launcher that it comes at standard. And then you can choose either the Chain Trap or the Blood Vulture, depending on which one you want. And it's exactly the same as the Hero version, same as its close combat attacks. The only difference is you're really missing either the Priest ability or the Frost Spear, essentially. So it has a once per turn army, end of any turn. If this unit made a charge this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. roll a dice on a 3+ for the rest of the turn. If the target is a monster, subtract 3 from its control score. If it was not a non-monster, subtract 5. That's about it. And obviously for 240 points, maybe, like, again, if you're going for that Beast Claw army, lots of big monsters, big cavalry monsters, then you're probably maybe going to have one of these in there because they're relatively cheap. Then we get the Frost Sabers, which is what we get with the Hunter, but you can actually bring them as units on their own. So they come in units of 2 for 70 points. They are beasts, so they've only got a control score of 1, but they've got a 6-up save, they move 9, they've got a health of 3, control of 1. They've got 3 attacks each, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, not bad. And then if this unit is not visible to the enemy unit while it is within 3 inches of a terrain feature and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So they can kind of hide and stalk. Yeah, cool. Yeah, but you're only ever really going to have a maximum of 4 in a unit, which is a little bit shame. Hopefully they'll build, release an actual plastic version of these, and it would be kind of cool. Next up we have the Maw Fang Pack, which is 2 models for 200 points. The cavalry, they can have a standard bearer and a musician and a champion. Don't know how that works when there's literally only 2 models in a unit. So each model in this unit is armed with a Maw Fang Raider weapon and a Maw Fang Tusk. The champion is armed with an iron lock pistol in addition to other weapons. So 4 save, movement 9, health 6, control of 2. If you've got a champion, you've got a brace of pistols. You don't really need a champion. Although the champion will give you +1 attack on your rider weapons. So, but you do get the pistols, so 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, shoot in combat, and then you've got the riders weapons, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage, anti-cavalry +1 rend, a bit like the pigs for the Iron Jaws, and then the Tusks, which is 4 attacks, 4s and 2s, -1 rend, 2 damage. So you've got a couple of abilities. So subtract 1 from wound rolls for shooting a target friendly Beast Claw Raiders while they are within this unit's combat range. Cool. And then Alpha Company, the charge +1 damage weapon ability has no effect on attacks that target this unit. Cool. So anti-charge, which is quite nice and very unique. I don't think there's very many units in the game that have like an anti-charge ability like that just nullifies the +1 damage from it. Next up we have the Icebrow Yetis. A unit that really does need new models. The Yetis are coming in at where are the Yetis? 120 points for 3. They have a 6-up ward save, which is kind of nice. 6-up save, they move 4, the health of 4, control of 1, claws and ice encrusted weapons. So 3s and 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. And then they've got enemy combat phase. This unit can move up to 3 inches. It can move into combat. End of any combat phase. Really nice. Nice. Yeah, they're cool, but they really need a new model. They really, really, really need a new model. And then they'd be really cool. Next, we have the Great Maw Poot, the first of 2 pieces of terrain that this faction has. So it has a 5-up save, a health of 6, cover and impassable. It's either full, and it starts the battle off as full, or it is empty. And if it's empty and an enemy model is slain within 6 inches of the Great Maw Poot, it then becomes full. In your hero phase, you can have a wizard within 3 inches of it, use it if it's full, and you can add 1 to the power level of that wizard. So, wizard 2, nice. You can also make a broth, which you can, if it's full, you can then heal D3 to each friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of it. And after you have done so, the Great Maw is then empty. Pretty cool, quite like that. And for the last piece of terrain, it has the Maw Pit, which is a 5-up save, health of 10. And it is cover, impassable, and unstable. So passive, it has quite a lot of rules. So first things first, Altar of the Gulping God. So while this terrain feature has a Head Butcher, the Head Butcher cannot use move abilities. Instead of measuring from the range and visibility from the Head Butcher, measure from this terrain feature instead. All attacks that would target the Head Butcher target the terrain instead. If this terrain feature is destroyed before removing it from the battlefield, inflict D3 mortal damage on the Head Butcher, and then set up the Head Butcher on the battlefield wholly within 3 inches of the terrain feature and not in combat. The unit is no longer a Head Butcher, and if it's not possible to set up the Head Butcher, it is slain. So while you have a Head Butcher, you can feed them more. So if this trained feature does not have a head butcher, pick a friendly butcher or slaughter priest within 3 inches of it. Place the target on this terrain feature. The target is now the head butcher. Cool. In your movement phase, you can step away from the head butcher. So on the battlefield, set it up within 3 inches of the terrain feature, not in combat. This is now no longer the head butcher. So you've got a butcher, you've got a head butcher. If you don't have one, you can have one. And then basically what this allows you to do is this one ability, which is Throat of Gur. Pick up to 3 enemy units within 12 inches of this terrain feature or within 18 inches if you have a head butcher. Roll a d3 for each target. Add 1 to the roll if the target is more than 3 inches from all other enemy units. And then on 2+, inflict an amount of mortal wounds equal to that roll. That's it. Pretty decent. So that's the Ogre Mawtribes, a pretty cool faction. And for me, I think if I was going to do them, I would have an army of a slaughter priest, 2 butchers, 2 reinforced units of gluttons, 2 units of normal gluttons, and then to round it out with 4 iron breakers to basically look after the slaughter priest. I think that would give you a lot. You're running and charging a lot because of those butchers, and you've got pretty much access to some decent spells, some nice heals, some nice buffs and debuffs. So yeah, all in all, a pretty solid faction, and probably fun to paint as well. So if you really want to get into doing some freehand tattoos, Maori style, then you could probably have a lot of fun with that one. I will be doing up I will be getting a box of gluttons shortly, and I will be doing up a painting tutorial for gluttons. It's a really nice way of doing some sort of tanned, darkish skin, and it's going to be quite fun to play around with different skin tones on them because, you know, that's what you do. So keep an eye out for that next. So we will be having more faction packs this week. Yes. And I will definitely be getting more out. And hopefully you enjoy them. So if you want me to let me know which ones I haven't done yet, let me know in the comments and I'll get those ones done. But we will be having more. We're going to be doing another order one next, I believe. And then I'm probably going to do a death one or maybe another destruction one at the end of the week. But either way, that's the video. If you like what I do, please like, comment, ring the bell, and most importantly, subscribe. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.